Hello dear listener. Welcome to Sleep Debuff channel. The channel about adventure, folklore, zen, and inspiring stories that will help you calm and relax. In this video today, I will continue the story of Scheherazade from the Arabian Nights. If you haven't watched the previous part of the story, please watch them in the link description below. Please sit back, relax, you may close your eyes, and enjoy the story I will about to tell you today. This is how the story continue. The story of the Vizier who was punished. Once upon a time, there was a king with a son who liked to hunt a lot. He often gave him permission to do this, but he told his Grand Vizier to always go with him and never lose sight of him. One day, the huntsman roused a stag. The prince thought the Vizier was behind him, so he gave chase. He rode so hard, though, that he ended up alone. He stopped, and when he couldn't see it anymore, he turned around to go back to the Vizier, who hadn't been paying close enough attention to follow him. But he got lost. As he looked for it, he saw a beautiful woman on the side of the road who was crying very hard. He pulled back on the reins of his horse and asked her who she was, why she was there, and if she needed help. "I'm the daughter of an Indian king," she said. "I fell asleep while riding in the country and fell off. My horse ran away, and I don't know where he went." The young prince felt sorry for her and offered to carry her, which he did. As they passed a broken-down building, the woman got off her horse and went inside. The prince also got off his horse and went after her. To his great surprise, he heard her say to someone inside, "Rejoice, my children. I am bringing you a nice fat youth." Other voices replied, "Where is he, Mama? So we can eat him right away because we are very hungry." The prince knew right away that he was in danger. He now knew that the woman who said she was the daughter of an Indian king was actually an ogre who lived in lonely places, who surprised and ate people who walked by. He was scared, so he jumped on his horse and rode away. At this point, the fake princess suddenly showed up. When she saw that she had lost her prey, she told him, "Don't be afraid. What do you want?" "I am lost," he said, "and I am looking for the road." "Keep going straight, and you'll find it," said the ogres. The prince couldn't believe what he was hearing and rode away as quickly as he could. He found his way home, where he told his father about the danger he had avoided because the Grand Vizier wasn't paying attention. The king was very mad, so he had him killed right away. "Sire," said the Vizier to the Greek king, "you should not go back to the physician Debuff. If you don't watch out, you'll be sorry you trusted him. Who knows if this cure he gave you won't turn out to be bad for you in the long run." The Greek king was naturally very weak, and didn't perceive the wicked intention of his Vizier, nor was he firm enough to his first decision. "Well, Vizier," he said, "you're right. Maybe he did come to kill me. He might do it by the mere smell of one of his drugs. I'll have to see what I can do." "Sire, the best way to protect your life is to send for him right away, and cut off his head as soon as he arrives," said the Vizier. "I really think that will be the best way," the king said. He then told one of his ministers to get the physician right away, which he did. "I summoned you," the king said, "so that I could kill you and be free of you." When he heard he was going to die, the physician was shocked beyond measure. "Your Majesty, what crimes have I committed?" "I've learnt," the king said, "that you are a spy and want to kill me. But I'll kill you first." "Behead him," he told an executioner who was nearby, "and get rid of this fake physician." When the physician heard this cruel order, he fell to his knees. "Save my life, and I'll save yours," he cried. The fisherman stopped here and told the genies. You see, what happened between the Greek king and the doctor just happened between us. The Greek king had no mercy on him, and the executioner tied his eyes. All those present there begged for his life, but it wasn't enough. The physician, kneeling before the king, pleaded, "Before my end, allow me to settle my matters, and bestow my books upon those who'll value them. One such book, I wish to gift to you, sire. It's a treasure, deserving a spot in your vault. And the most intriguing aspect. Upon my beheading, if you turn to the 6th leaf, and read the 3rd line on the left page, my severed head will respond to any query you pose." The king was excited to see something so amazing, so he put off his execution until the next day, and sent him home with a strong guard. There, the physician took care of his business. The next day, a big crowd gathered in the hall to watch his death and what happened afterward. The physician walked up to the throne and put a big book in his hands. He carried a basin and put the book's cover on it. He then gave it to the king and said, "Sire, take this book, and when my head is cut off, let it be placed in the basin on the cover of this book. As soon as it is there, the blood will stop flowing. Then open the book, and my head will answer your questions. But, sire, I beg your mercy, for I am innocent. Your prayers don't matter, and if the only reason you wanted to die was to hear your head talk after you're gone, you should die." After saying this, he took the book away from the doctor, and told the executioner to do his job. The head was cut off in such a way that it fell into the basin and stopped the flow of blood. Then, to the king's great surprise, the eyes opened, and the head said, "Your Majesty, open the book." The king did so, and when the first leaf was stuck to the second, he put his finger in his mouth to make it easier to turn. He did the same thing until he got to the 6th page. When he saw nothing written on it, he told the physician, "Physician, there is nothing written here." "Turn over a few more pages," the head said in response. The king kept turning the pages and sticking his finger in his mouth until the poison on each page took effect. He couldn't see anymore, and he fell down at the base of his throne. When the physician's head saw that the poison was working and that the king only had a few minutes left to live, it said to the king, "Tyrant, look how cruelty and unfairness are punished." As soon as it said these words, the king died, and what little life was left in the head also went away. The story about the Greek king is over. So let's go back to the fisherman and the genies. If the Greek king had spared the doctor, he wouldn't have died this way, the fisherman said. The same is true for you. Now I'm going to throw you into the sea. Don't be so mean to me, my friend, said the genies. Don't treat me like Imma treated Ateka. The fisherman asked, "What did Imma do to Ateka?" The genies asked, "Do you think I can tell you while I'm locked up in here? Let me go, and I'll make you a lot of money." The fisherman finally gave up because he wanted to stop being poor. "If you promise to do this, I'll open the lid." "I don't think you'll dare break your promise." The genie said he would do it, and the fisherman opened the box. He came out of the smoke right away, and as soon as he was himself again, he kicked the vase into the sea. This scared the fisherman, but the genies laughed and said, "Don't be afraid. I only did it to scare you and show you that I will keep my word. Take your nets and follow me." He started walking in front of the fisherman, and the fisherman followed him with some doubts. They passed in front of the town, up a mountain, and then down into a large plain with a large lake in the middle of 4 hills. When they got to the lake, the genies told the fisherman, "Throw your nets and catch fish." The fisherman did what he was told, hoping to catch a lot of fish since he could see a lot of them. What was his astonishment at seeing that There were 4 quite different kinds, some were white, some were red, some were blue, and some were yellow. He got one of each color, which is 4. He really liked them, because he had never seen anything like them before, and he was excited to think about how much money he could get for them. Take these fish to the Sultan, and he'll give you more money than you've ever had in your life. You can fish in this lake every day, but be careful not to throw your nets more than once a day, or something bad will happen to you. If you carefully follow my advice, you'll find it good. When he said these words, he hit the ground with his foot. It opened, and when he was gone, it closed right away. The fisherman was determined to follow the genie's instructions, so he didn't throw out his nets a second time. Instead, he walked into town to sell his fish at the palace. When the Sultan saw the fish, it shocked him a lot. He looked at them one by one, and when he'd had enough time to admire them, he told his first vizier, "Take these fish and give them to the clever cook the emperor of the Greeks sent me. I'm sure they taste as good as they look." The vizier himself took the fish to the cook, saying, "4 fish were brought to the Sultan, and he wants you to cook them." Then he went back to the Sultan, who told him to give 400 gold pieces to the fisherman. The fisherman had never had so much money at once before, so he couldn't believe how lucky he was. He helped his family right away and made good use of the money. But now we have to go back to the kitchen, which will be very messy. After cleaning the fish, the cook put them in a pan with some oil to fry. When she thought one side was done, she turned them over to cook the other side. But when as soon as she just finished, the walls of the kitchen opened, and a young, beautiful woman walked out. She wore an Egyptian dress made of satin with flowers on it. She also had earrings, a necklace of white pearls, and gold bracelets with rubies set in them. In her hand, she held a wand made of myrtle. She walked up to the pan, which shocked the cook so much that she stood still when she saw her. She hit one of the fish with her rod and asked, "Fish, fish, are you doing your job?" The fish didn't answer, so she asked again. This time, the fish all raised their heads and said, "Yes, yes. If you count, we count. If you pay your debts, we pay ours. If you fly, we conquer, and we're happy." After they were done talking, the girl threw the pan and went through the hole in the wall. The hole closed right away and looked the same as before. The cook feeling scared, she picked up the fish that had fallen into the ashes. They were as black as cinders, so they weren't good enough to serve to the Sultan. She started crying. "Oh no, I don't know what to tell the Sultan. He'll be so mad at me, and I know he won't believe me." The Grand Vizier came in while she was crying, and asked if the fish were ready. She told him everything that had happened, which shocked him a lot. He called the fisherman right away and, when he got there, told him, "Fisherman, bring me 4 more fish like the ones you've already brought. Something happened to the ones you've already brought, so they can't be served to the Sultan." The fisherman didn't tell them what the genies had told him, but he said he couldn't bring them that day because it was too far, but he would bring them the next day. He went to the lake at night, threw his nets out, and when he pulled them in, he found 4 fish that were just like the others, but were each a different color. As he had promised, he went back right away and took them to the Grand Vizier. Then he took them to the kitchen, and locked himself in with the cook. The cook started cooking them the same way she had cooked the other 4 the day before. She was about to turn them over when the wall opened, and a damsel appeared. She said the same thing to the fish, got the same answer, turned the pan over, and then vanished. The Grand Vizier was shocked by what he saw. He said, I will tell the Sultan everything that has happened." And he did so. The Sultan was astonished and wanted to see this amazing thing for himself. So, he called the fisherman and told him to get 4 more fish. The fisherman asked for 3 days, and he got them. He then put his nets in the lake and caught 4 fish of different colors again. When the Sultan saw that he had gotten them, he was very happy and gave him back 400 gold pieces. As soon as the Sultan got the fish, he had it all brought to his room so he could cook it. Then he locked himself in with the Grand Vizier, and the Grand Vizier started to prepare and cook them. When one side was done, he turned them over to finish the other side. The room's wall then opened, but a black slave, not the maiden, came out. He was very tall and carried a big green stick, which he used to touch the fish and ask in a scary voice, "Fish, fish, are you doing your job?" The fish answered, "Yes, yes. If you count, we count. If you pay your debts, we pay ours. If you fly, we conquer and are happy." The black slave turned the pan over in the middle of the room, and the fish were burned to ashes. Then he walked back into the wall with pride, and it closed around him. "Now that I've seen this," the Sultan said, "I can't sleep. These fish are a sign of a mystery that I need to solve." He told the fisherman to come. "Fisherman," he said, "I'm a little worried about the fish you brought us. Where did you get them?" "Yes, sir," he said. "I got them from a lake in the middle of 4 hills past those mountains." The Sultan asked the Grand Vizier, "Do you know this lake?" "No, I've never heard of it. And I've hunted many times around that mountain," said the Vizier. Since the fisherman said it was only 3 hours away, the Sultan told his whole court to get on their horses and ride there. The fisherman led them. When they got to the top of the mountain, they saw the lake just as the fisherman had said. They could see all 4 kinds of fish swimming around in the water because it was so clear. After looking at them for a while, the Sultan told them to set up a camp near the water. When night came, the Sultan called his Vizier and told him, "I have resolved to clear up this mystery. I'm going to go alone, and you stay here in my tent. And when my ministers come tomorrow, tell them I'm sick and can't see them. Do this every day until I get back." The Grand Vizier tried to persuade the Sultan from leaving, but he was unsuccessful. The Sultan took off his royal robe and put on his sword. When he saw that the camp was quiet, he set forth alone. He climbed one of the hills and then walked across the big plain until, just as the sun was coming up, he saw a big building in the distance. When he got close to it, he saw that it was a beautiful palace made of polished black marble and steel as smooth as a mirror. He went to the half-open gate and went in because no one answered when he knocked. He went through a beautiful courtyard and called out several times, but no one answered. He walked into big rooms with silk carpets, tapestries from Mecca on the chairs and sofas, and the most beautiful gold and silver Indian decorations hanging from the ceiling. Then he was in a beautiful room with a fountain that was held up by golden lions. When the lions drank, the water that came out of their mouths turned into diamonds and pearls, and the water that jumped almost hit a beautiful painted dome. The palace was surrounded on 3 sides by magnificent gardens, small lakes, and woods. The birds sang in the trees, which were covered with nets to keep them there. Still, the Sultan didn't see anyone until he heard a sad cry and a voice saying, "I wish I could die because I'm too sad to want to live any longer." The Sultan looked around to see who was complaining about his life. He finally saw a handsome, well-dressed young man sitting on a throne that was just a little bit off the ground. He looked very sad. When the Sultan got close to him, he bowed to him. The young man's head was very low, but he didn't stand up. "Sir," he told the Sultan, I can't stand up and show you the respect that I'm sure your rank deserves." "Sir," replied the Sultan, "I'm sure you have a good reason for not doing so. And I've come to help you because I heard your cry for help. Whose palace is this, and why is it so empty?" Instead of answering, the young man lifted his robe, and showed the Sultan that he was a block of black marble from the waist down. The Sultan was shocked and pleaded with the young man to tell him what had happened. "I'm happy to tell you about my sad past," the young man said. Dear listener, this chapter 4 of the story end here. Chapter 5 of Scheherazade Story. The story of the young king of the Black Isles will be told in the next video. If you like this kind of video, please like, subscribe and comment below. And if you don't want to miss the next chapter of the stories, be sure to turn on the notification button, so that you don't miss the newest video we posted. Last but not least, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.